everyone, this is Tanya here with the Memory Lane Keepsakes, and welcome back to my channel. As you guys know, all of my videos are made strictly for adults who are 18 years and older. Thank you so much for respecting that. Welcome to another day of the Crafty Dares, where I share one of my projects. Now, as you guys know, I'm a part of the Crafty Dares that is listed on Instagram, and it is hosted by Tell Him Thank You. And I have been a part of this for some time now, and I try to come back and share my projects here on my YouTube channel so that way you guys can see what I'm up to. So I am back today to give you the list that I have for this week. The list for the Crafty Dares was to use a pumpkin, a witch, and also a leaf or leaves. So I was up for the challenge, so challenge accepted. So that was the Crafty Dare for that week. So I was trying to decide what I wanted to create, so I chose to create a memory desk card. They're really fun to use, and I always have a lot of YouTube pals asking for them. So that way I would have one ready when it's time to have one to go out. So with that being said, some of the items that I use to create my memory desk. I use these two stamp sets here. This one is by Inkadoo, and this one is called Trick or Treat. And I also use this one by Fiskars, and this one right here is called Build a Tree. So I use those two there. In addition to that, I also put out some of my Distress Oxide inks. I chose to use a Distress Oxide, which is the Vintage Photo, Carved Pumpkin, Festive Berries, and Stormy Sky. I use my VersaFine ink as well as some embossing powder, and I use my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. In addition to that, I chose to pull out my Spit and Award to add color. Alright, so on for my project. This is what I created. This is my finished project right here, and I'm so glad I was able to share this with you guys. This is what I finished, and I chose to add those colors and a little bit of shimmer by adding the Spartan Award because I love a little shimmer and shine on all of my projects. And I wish that, looking at it now, I wished I would have went ahead and left the leaves uncolored and just kept the stamp image as I showed in my tutorial. That will be after this video here. And I'm happy with how everything, how everything turned out. But looking at it, it's funny how you can look at something and then create something totally different. So also, I'm really loving my Stormy Sky that I created here. What I did is I edged a whole memory desk card, and then I went back in to add a little bit of Stormy Sky inside of the midst of the trick-or-treaters here. And by doing that, I love the fact that I left some of those white areas open to create kind of like a moonlight shining through. So that's the look that I was going for. And I do have a tutorial where I show you the start process of how I got started, because I'm always getting requests on my embossing technique. So stay tuned to see that, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can email me, because all of my social media will be listed in the description box. And also, if you have not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe by hitting that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. As well as follow me on my Instagram page, which is Memory Lane Keepsakes 2017. That way you can know when I'm posting my Crafty Dare project. And I want to thank you guys so much for your continued YouTube support. Stay tuned for the tutorial, and I hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome back. If you are joining me now, you are here for the tutorial on my memory desk card that I did for the Crafty Dares. So I want to kind of show you a quick process of some of the things that I use, as well as the process of how to emboss. Now, I will not be finishing the whole memory desk card because I will be showing you that probably at the beginning of this video, so that way you will understand that some people have been requesting for me to emboss and show them my process, so that's what I'm going to do. So I thank you so much for joining me for this quick tutorial. So basically, I already cut out my memory desk card, as you can see. I used this die right here that came from AliExpress. And what I did is I layered this up with a bunch of different cardstock papers. I did about 5 in all, 4 of the white cardstock, and then 1 of the cereal box in between, so that way to create a thicker memory desk card for me. And as you can see, I've already layered the back with white as well. So I just picked the side, and now I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I use these stamps right here. So the stamp that I'm going to be using is going to be this Halloween stamp right here. And this is by Inkadoo. And the name of this stamp set is called Trick or Treat. So that's the one I'm going to go ahead and stamp with right now. And then I also pulled out this Fisker stamp because I'm going to be using a few leaves from this one here. This one is called Build a Tree. So I've already pulled this leaf right here as well as this one here on the bottom. So those are the leaves that I have chosen, as well as a few of my inks. So I'm going to be using the Distress Oxide inks today. I have Carved Pumpkin, Vintage Photo, and Vest of Berries. So I'm going to interchange in between all three of those to create my fall leaves. I also will be stamping with the Versafine. Versafine ink is really great if you are going to emboss. This is great to create that onyx black, that real crisp black look, if that's what you're going for. But keep in mind, if you are using Versafine to stamp with on your stamps, you need to use some type of clear embossing powder. This is by Red Collections. As you can see, is well loved because I don't have that much left, but I do have some on back order, and so, or in my Crafty stash. And also, in addition to that, if you do choose to stamp with colors, join me for another video where I share that at another time. So if you do want to do colors, you can use what's called Versamark, which is a different ink. That's a clear pad ink. This Versafine is a black ink. Okay, so I hope I didn't confuse you there. So if you want to stamp with clear to get that dark, crisp black ink look, you want to stamp with the Versafine. If you want to stamp with color to get colors inks, you want to stamp with what's called Versamark. And then that way you'll be able to use those other color embossing powders. So now we're going to go ahead and get started with that. Before you emboss, keep in mind you also want to have an anti-static bag. This is your anti-static pack right here. Some people refer to it as a embossing buddy. All it is powder inside of a little pouch. You can probably make you one if you don't have one already at home. And you use this to go across your paper to keep all the fibers off. So basically what you want to do is you want to go across it like this here. You want to tap a little bit and then make sure you get all those fibers off, and then a quick little rub there. And then you want to have some type of acrylic block, or you can use your stamp positioner, which would be like the Tim Holtz stamp positioner, or either on one of your other stamp platforms that you may have in your Crafty stash. Now, with that being said, you also want to have an embossing gun. This is the embossing gun I'm going to be using. Any embossing gun will pretty much do. This one here is by Red Collections. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So what I have done is I already applied that stamp to my on my acrylic block. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Versafine ink, and as you can see, it's black like I mentioned. And I lay that down, and then I go ahead and I stamp. I go ahead and I stamp the ink all over, making sure I get a good amount of ink on my image here. You want to make sure you get it right the first time, because by you having an acrylic block, there's no room to go back and redo. If you have one of the stamp platforms, that way you will be able to go back. So I have my Sizit mat right here. That's a great impression for a cushion to create that connection for as my stamp and the ink. So now I'm going to go ahead and lay this where I want it, and I'm going to bring this down just a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and press down, making sure that I get all this ink to transfer, and I'm going to give it a good little rub. You don't want to move it around too much, but you want to make sure the ink transfers down. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift up there. And this is my image here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the Red Collections powder, the clear embossing powder, and I'm going to go ahead and place that all over my image. And I have this little coffee filter right here, that way I can apply this powder right on back. So what I'm going to do is give this a good shimmy all over it, and it pretty much covers it the first time. Give it a good little tap there. And as you can see, it has this powdery look right now where it's not dark at all. And the reason for that is because you have not completed the process of embossing yet. So now what I'm going to do before I emboss, I'm going to go ahead and apply my powder right back to my little jar here. So I'm going to take this, place that right back in there. Get that a good tap. Lay that on the side, close this up. You are done with that powder for now. And now what you want to do is you want to hold this, or you can use tweezers on the corner, making sure to rotate your embossing gun so that way you don't burn your hand, because you got to remember that heat is going to be lifted up. So I'm going to lay this down for now and go ahead and let this heat up just a little bit. And it's going to be a little loud, so I advise you to go ahead and mute your video right now if the sound does bother you. It won't take that long, and you're going to see, just keep in mind, if you mute it, just know you'll see this change. I'm going to hold this up to the camera while I heat it up so you can see the transformation happen. That should be good right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and heat this up. And as you can see, I'm going to lay this down so I can turn it. Right, that looks like that might be done right there. So give it a moment right there to cool off. I'm going to move this on out the way and bring my inks into play here. Alright, so you can see now it has more of a darker black glossy look because it has already been embossed, and you can see that shine there. That means that you've done a embossing on your memory desk card using that stamp or whatever stamp you have in your stash. It don't necessarily have to be Halloween, but this is what I'm using for now for this particular video. And so I'm going to rub that on, put this on down right here and rub my fingers right across, and you can feel that raised feel there, which is really, really awesome. So now what I'm going to do is I have two other acrylic blocks here. I wish I had some more of the small ones, but this is what I'm working with. This is what I have in my stash. I've already placed one of the leaves here and one of the leaves here. So now I'm going to go ahead and press my, or stamp my images. And this is the carved pumpkin. This is the vintage photo. And this is the festive berries. I'm going to be using all three of those inks. And I also have a little towel here, or you can use your shimmy thing from Lawn Fawn if you have one of those to clean off your stamp. In between the colors, I'm going to be using this little rag here to just wipe off the excess color. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this little small one here, and I'm going to just go ahead and press this into my red ink here. As you can see, I have some red on there, and I'm just going to press it at random in different places. Alright, and if you happen to mess up or you miss a little bit of the ink, by it being a clear embossing, a clear acrylic having your stamp on there, you can always go back and line it up again on top here. And see, I was able to get that, no problem whatsoever. And now I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off and do another color. Now I'm going to go ahead and dip this one in the brown. Okay, and I'm going to wipe that one off there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this other stamp here, and I'm going to use some orange this time, which is the carved pumpkin. If you get some on the end, you can just wipe it off really quick. And we'll do another one down there. I'm gonna turn it this way. And I also want to probably add another brown one to kind of balance things out a little bit. So I'm gonna go back and add that in there. Alright, so this gives you a look to see what I'm starting off with so far. So this is what I have, and you can see how I added those leaves and how I didn't have to really go back in and do too much there. So I've added these beautiful colors, and now I'm going to go back in and color my image. Now with that, the options are endless. You can do watercoloring if you choose to. You can use markers, or you can use your color pencils, or whatever it is that you have on hand. So feel free to go ahead and get creative with that. I'll be back to show you my finished product, but this is my creation here. I'm doing a Halloween memory desk card for the Crafty Dares, and I wanted just to kind of show you a quick tutorial. So this is where I left off at, and stay tuned so that way you can see what the ending one looks like. So I have a picture at the end. Thank you for taking out time to watch the tutorial.